Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the To-Do List. This is your host, Eric Fisher. This is the show where we talk to people, have conversations about how they've produced positive results towards achieving their goals. Our goal for you is that you will listen and learn to do the same. This week we're talking with Mark Malkoff. He is an internet comedy project person. I won't call him a comedian because that's not really what comes to mind when I hear his stuff being talked about. He's done a lot of internet video comedy, especially YouTube type projects. He's done stuff where he's slept overnight in IKEA, spent a month living on an airplane. He's been carried from one south end to north end of the island of Manhattan just by people carrying him. He's also done something else where he's been on the island of Manhattan and gone to every single Starbucks there and ordered something and consumed it within a 24-hour period, I believe. So I will have some of his videos in the show notes or links to them or embedded to play. So you can go watch that stuff afterwards. But I really wanted to talk to Mark because he's specifically somebody who's a little off the wall. And as you can tell, you'll listen, he talks a mile a minute, which is good. Again, another one of those episodes where you may want to rewind and play it again. Anyway, thank you so much to Mark for joining us, and I hope that you can get inside the mind of Mark Malkoff, as scary as that might be. All right. Hey, Mark, welcome to Beyond the To-Do List. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
How often do you get interviewed for podcasts?
Lately, it seems like twice a week, maybe, something
really?
like that. Yeah, there have been a few people that have had to reschedule recently, but it seems that way that I've been maybe once or twice a week, something like that.
So you're actually now in high demand.
You know what? Anybody that wants to talk to me, as long as they're not dangerous, and I like you, Eric, but anyone that wants to talk to me, I'm so flattered. So genuinely, I usually say yes. And somebody just asked me yesterday to come on their show, and it's a high compliment that anybody watches my work and they'd want to talk to me.
And if anybody wanted to talk to you, say not necessarily in Skype, but just through social media, they could find you on Twitter with M Malkoff or on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. My email is on my website as well, markmalkoff.com. So yeah.
And you accept most everybody as your friend on Facebook, don't you?
99.9%. Yeah, it's been interesting. Sometimes I'll even reach out to people that I admire that I don't know, and half the time, 3/4 of the time, they'll accept my Facebook request. So, yeah, it's really nice. Especially when I have projects going on that are getting media attention, it's people from all around the world. I get a kick out of it. It's really just, I don't know, it's got in my work scene for sure, which is so nice.
Let's go into that a little bit. What you say work scene, describe to somebody what it is you do to make your ends meet at this point.
That's such an interesting question. Whenever my grandparents ask me that, it's a 10-hour conversation. Let me do the cliff note. I do videos. I do comedy videos. Some people refer to them as stunts. Some people call them missions. I've been referred to as an internet celebrity on TV, which I didn't know that I was, but I guess I kind of am. But I do these really over-the-top challenges, stunt challenges, comedy ones. So I lived on a commercial airplane for an entire month to get over my fear of flying, and I set a Guinness World Record. It was 135 flights. Couldn't get off the plane, couldn't shower for a month. So I do a lot of these things. I wanted to prove to the world that New Yorkers were nice. So I started at the southernmost end of Manhattan. And I wanted to see how far north I could transport myself only by having people on the street physically carry me. So in 11-degree weather, the coldest day of the year, I was carried 9.4 miles by 155 people. So it's these larger than life projects that a lot of people would tell me at the time, this is impossible. I did this thing called 171 Starbucks, where I went to every single Starbucks store, all 171 stores in Manhattan in less than 24 hours, made a purchase and consumed something. And I have people I'm telling you that are like, why are you doing this? It's impossible. And it did take me a month, but I am a firm believer anything's possible. I really, really am. So I make my living doing these videos. I work with brands sometimes. I've worked with IKEA. I've worked with Kodak. I've worked with Ford Motor Company, Cooper Vision. I just did a thing with Nestle Drumstick. And I do videos on mydamnchannel.com, which is a great space to see comedy videos. So that's basically my life.
Now, and I'm trying to bridge into talking about, how do you handle these projects? How do you manage these things? Obviously, it started off from a very low-key, just you. I'm assuming you've got at least some people that work on these things with you now.
Sure.
But before we get into that, how did you just think that this was even a possibility for a career?
I didn't. I just did what I thought was funny. Like I can't come from like a sketch comedy kind of background, and I just kind of like I had that chapter of my life. I decided that was over, and then I just had a blank sheet of paper, and I was like, I'm just gonna do what I think is funny. I'm gonna be a one-man band. When you do sketch comedy, it's like basically getting 5 or 6 people together and everyone has to agree on a creative direction. I wanted to work by myself so I didn't have to compromise my vision.
Right.
So this was like a year or two before YouTube, so I would just write down things I thought were funny on video, and I honestly didn't know how to operate a video camera or do anything. So I just used my resources, which is the advice I always give anybody. I mean, when you're starting out, really use your resources. Ask your friends, do you know people that edit? Do you know people? Because there's always people that are willing to do stuff if they believe in the project. So I started doing these videos, and I would do this show midnight down in the Village on the Lower East Side, and I would just show the videos to whoever would come. It'd be sometimes 40 or 50 people, and I was just addicted to it. Within within 6 or 9 months, one of my videos was making national news, and this is again before YouTube. It was just such a sign that this is really, I felt like, what I should be putting my energy into, because I loved it. It was a genuine just passion, about doing these concept things that I would get literally obsessed with. Can I pull this off? Can I make this happen? And it seemed to resonate with an audience. And I had a day job in television for years. I worked on so many TV shows in New York while I was doing my comedy. And eventually, it's been over 3 years, I was able to kind of to leave the day job and just be able to do this full time. But I mean, the last 2 years that I was working on a TV show, I was going on national news. I had agents, and I still couldn't get rid of my day job and make this a full time thing. So when it happened, oh my goodness, it was the biggest celebration, and I'm just so feel very fortunate that I can do this full time. But it took forever, and I'd like to add, I've been doing comedy since I was 16 years old. So it's been a long journey.
How did you balance that? How did you, from the time where you first got started and you were doing your day job, but you also had these side projects that you were continually taking on and then accomplishing and then moving on to the next one, how did you balance your time between those two seemingly different worlds?
It was really hard. I mean, I was 22 years old. I was working on 2 television shows, and I was doing a one-man show on the weekend, and I would just go on stage, and my body would just be in massive pain. And I had a day job and a third job on the weekends for a movie company. So, gosh, it was just brutal. I mean, I think when you're a little younger, you can handle that a little bit more. And then when I was working the day jobs on TV, I would just get to the office early to work on my own stuff, lunch break, work on my own stuff. If there's any downtime and they were cool with it, I would work on my stuff. But it was really hard. It was essentially having 2 jobs. And I'm still finding a balance being married. But oh my gosh, I've put my wife through so much. But I mean, I definitely, now that I don't have the day job and I'm just working on it full time, it's been easier. But it was really tough. I would just when I was training for 171 Starbucks, when I was still working on a TV show, I would just get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would seriously have to get on a bike and go to every single Starbucks training. Putting a team together of a director that could ride a bike with me in New York traffic was hard, and it's just, I don't know, you really, really do have to love it. I hear advice constantly from people at the top of their profession in entertainment in any area that if you don't love it that much, you're not willing to kind of sacrifice a lot and pay your dues for years, probably pick something else. I just had no backup plan other than this was my life and this is what I loved with, but it was definitely I found it to be 10% fun and kind of like 10% celebration. And then the 90% is just grunt work. It's just hard work. I mean, that's just how it is. And it's a process. And I really have been trying through that 90% of the hard work to just kind of like be cheerful and enjoy that process. I think that is like kind of a goal that I'm working towards.
Talking about that 90%, is it something where you're willing to take that 90% because that other 10% is just, it drives you? You feel like you can't do something else. This is what you've got to do. You can't not do it.
I think so, and I think it's like that from any level of somebody who's starting out to somebody as successful as a movie producer like Scott Rudin. He was saying how hard, I believe it was Social Network or one of the movies, was so hard to produce, and there were so many things that were going on, and all you can really do, and I think this is true, is just remember how you felt when you got excited about the project and keep that vision in your head and work through those obstacles. Anybody who's starting out a business or doing these things, oh my goodness, it's easy to get discouraged, and you just have to see that end in sight and ask yourself, is it worth all this work that's ahead of me to get there? And that is what's driven me through so many of these things. I mean, it was just I've kind of put myself through a lot of craziness, but it's definitely been worth it, and I've been rewarded so many times that I didn't expect it. Like I did my Netflix project a couple months ago where I wanted to see how many Netflix movies I could watch in a month. The company wasn't involved. I just wanted to do it. I ended up watching 252 movies, which is like 404.25 hours, I believe. And Netflix found out about it. They started tweeting about it. I was very excited, and they ended up flying me out to Los Gatos, California, where their headquarters were. They showed me they showed the video. I got to meet the CEO, Reed Hastings. They declared it Mark Malkoff Day. And I got an extra video out of it. And I'm like so proud that like I got to experience that. But it never would have happened if I didn't kind of persevere through a challenging month. But you never know how these things are going to go. I mean, I will knock on almost anybody's door and ask for outrageous things. Like, for example, IKEA. Can I live in your store? I mean, no one from that I know of in the U.S. had really asked something so over the top, like, can I live and sleep in it for a week? And I'm very politely persistent. And it took me about 2 months for them to agree. And it was all these baby steps. But I mean, I just thought the video content would just be amazing. It would be so much fun. And through all of that, I just kind of kept that in my head and just kind of worked through it. And I get lots of advice. Like, I'm a huge fan of getting advice. You know, even talking about the productivity that you're talking about, I love asking people that I admire how they balance their time and what they do. Everybody's different. Like, I don't know him at all. And like, he's definitely had a long career, but Jeff Zucker, who was at NBC forever, leading NBC, said that his secret, his tip was to sleep less, which 4 hours a night or something. I can't do. If somebody can do that, like Jay Leno can do that, oh my goodness, you can just get so much more done. I can't do that, but I love just kind of asking people who I admire how they balance it out and how the process is. Some people really are into that Tim Ferriss thing where you check email like twice a day. That saves time, and I'm just a huge fan of drawing those out from people.
Getting those nuggets from people. I mean, to be honest, that's the whole point of me and doing this podcast is to, one, get to talk to cool people like you, and two, to get their tips from them or their perspectives, learn from them. So, for example, like when you've been working on that, say 90% from the beginning until now, can you share maybe some of the points and times where you hit a roadblock, and how you maybe were able to push through it?
171 Starbucks, which is what launched my career, really. I mean, it was my national television debut on the Today Show. Jay Leno was making monologue jokes. He showed a clip of my Today Show thing. It was the biggest thing I ever did. And I will tell you, I tried it once with a car, and it didn't work. And then my director at the time, who was with me, he decided he kind of like didn't. It's totally cool. Like, he just kind of like wanted to do his own thing. So basically, I had to find, and I kind of came to the conclusion from getting a lot of advice that it had to be done on bicycles. So I had to find a director who could really ride a bike in New York City traffic for 23 hours. I mean, it was just that in itself was a huge, huge challenge. It was just asking everybody I knew, do you know anyone like this? And I would I would interview potential directors, and no one wanted to do it. And I finally found somebody, but just all those steps, and then having to go to every single Starbucks store, all 171, not only to plan my route, but like I would call the stores and be like, "What are your hours?" And they would all they would give me they would say for example 9 to 11. I would call back in 15 minutes, and someone else would answer. And I say, "What are your hours?" 9 to 9. They all give me different hours, so I had to physically go to every single store, look at the hours, and I'm telling you, getting up early and I'd never been on a bicycle in scary New York City traffic, so that was really terrifying for the first week. And just forcing myself to go through all of these things through just for the end result, which I didn't even know if I'd pull the thing off. I mean, it was miraculous that happened. And trust me, there was lots of prayer going on. But that was probably the hardest video in terms of logistics that I had to produce. Living on the airplane for a month, air trip, I did it with AirTran. Those logistics, oh my gosh, they handled them internally, through the TSA, and oh my gosh, it was insanity. But it's just problem solving. It's constant problem solving. And just breaking down those barriers and just keep going. I think that's what George Lucas says. You just have to keep breaking down the walls and just keep persevering. But that was an example. 171 Starbucks I think that was the hardest that I ever had.
Sounds like you're saying, if I can paraphrase, that each one of these projects is like a challenge in and of itself for you, and it's contextual to the challenge of what help you need. Like, for example, with 171 Starbucks, you're saying you had to seek out any and every opportunity or personal connection to an expert that could help you with that. Not to mention, you just had to push through with some willpower.
It is, and it's it's blocking out the negative voice in your head if you have one, which we all kind of do.
Well,
and then
we all do.
And then not listening to your people that don't, the people that know me really well would never say you can't do this, Mark. I don't get it that much anymore, just because stuff has happened. When I did celebrity sleepovers, where I was in LA for 10 days, and I didn't want to spend thousands on hotels, so I tried to convince famous people to allow me to sleep over. These were with the exception of a few people I did not know, celebrities, and I would just find a way to contact them, and I couldn't go through agents and managers publicists because they never would have gotten the message.
Right.
To actually get to the celebs and be like, "Can I sleep over at your apartment?" There were definitely people that are they really going to do this? And I just said, I hope so. I think so. And just really putting it out there to the universe, and just I don't know, just having faith in yourself. And I pray a lot, and it's just once you get some momentum, I think momentum is huge. Once one or two celebrities said yes, then I could put that in the email. These two people said yes, and then a third would say yes, and I just feel those little increments of success that we all get, if you use those to build up your enthusiasm, I think that just can be such a driving force. I mean, I look at my bio that has to go out, and I'm I can't believe this stuff has all happened. It's kind of hard for me to be objective a little bit. I'll be at parties sometimes, and people will know my work, and they'll ask me about it, and it's kind of an unusual life, I guess, but I don't know anything different. But I've just been so blessed with so many nice people. I think to be productive, my wife Christine helps me a lot, but if anyone can delegate, I met some guy at VidCon in California who's the nicest, coolest guy, and they've been bringing interns for the last 2 years into their homes. And they've gotten so much more done. I mean, if you can get an intern who is competent and I mean, I was a college intern for years. If you can get somebody that's enthusiastic and competent and is cool, I mean, you can get a lot more done. But the delegation thing, oh my goodness, that's been such a nice thing. I mean, I do a lot of stuff that I would love to delegate, but my goal eventually is just to be creative as much as I can. And right now, I would say that creativity is maybe between 30 and 40% of my time when I'm working, and the rest is it's social media, a lot of correspondence, and I don't know, when people come to me, especially at this point in my life, a lot of people online come to me. They'll be like, "Will you watch my video?" And I do try to watch as many I can and get feedback, and that definitely takes up time. But I feel like so many people have been nice to me that I really do want to kind of help out people as I can, even though it's taking up some of my day and stuff. It's very important. So I don't know. I know some people are just like, I'm gonna 100%. It's all me, and I'm gonna take every second. But I don't know. I guess I'm not wired like that. It's just not. I don't feel like I can do that. But I'd probably be more productive. But I don't know. So that's just me.
Well, but you're trading it in, and you're interacting with your fan base, so to speak. So they love that. I know that's something I've loved.
I hope so. I try to be constructive and like give tips and stuff. And I always tell anybody, this is my advice. You should go with your instinct, go with your gut, get lots of advice. But that advice is so important, I think. And it's. I mean, I start off my morning normally with I'm a Christian, so I mean, I usually I start my morning usually with reading the Bible and prayer, and then I usually go to some sort of like reading that just kind of like inspires me. Like I'm reading Dale Carnegie's what is it? The one, it's like the famous one.
Is it How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Such a good book. Yeah. And then I was reading. I read both of Russell Simmons' books previously, but I feel like starting off the morning is such like an important thing for like just to get you going and get your mind and just get you ready to tackle whatever the day is and stuff. So like those are my main things that I do. Like, and I feel like when I don't do them, it just doesn't seem to go as well. So I mean, I really do like taking the time to like just kind of like do the prayer and then read my Bible and then just tackle like whether it's like the next book after Carnegie I have is David Allen's The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, and I've read one other David Allen book, I believe. So
is it Getting Things Done?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I meant the book is Getting Things Done, and then it's The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. But yeah, it's Getting Things Done. But I read another book that he said
Putting It All Together or something like that.
Something like that. It's really, really good. And like, if anybody reads these books and you take 10% out of it and you apply it, that is huge. People don't have to apply everything. Like I just gave this one person came to me for advice when I sat down with him, and he's going to be graduating soon, like 9 months, and I gave him the book Never Eat Alone, which I thought was a really good thing for like if people don't know how to really kind of. I don't like the word networking because I don't feel like I network, but if people need to kind of get past their comfort zone to kind of like get in front of people, meet people, it's an excellent, excellent book. I keep in touch with people I like. I knock on people's doors I admire. If I'm doing a project I'm proud of, I want people to know about it. And if somebody's nice enough to get it out there, that's great. And if people come to me with their projects and it's something that I feel like my fan base, if you call it a fan base, would be interested. I send stuff out all the time to help people. If somebody's doing a Kickstarter that I'm friends with and I really admire it, I just a give and take. I've gotten to help so many people, and I'm not bragging about it at all, but it's all from the networking. And
you've been fortunate enough, you mean, to do that?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to help people. Like, I love it. Like, it's great when I can connect people, especially. I mean, I can't always do it, but I've been like, I don't know. I've just, it just seems like it's an effortless thing for me. I know for some people they really struggle with it, but it's just something that comes natural to me.
Would you say that you're more of an introvert or an extrovert?
My wife would say that I'm an introvert. I'm good for like, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Do you? I think you're probably very similar to me, where you're an introvert, but given the right opportunity or stage or platform, you can flip the switch.
I can.
And then suddenly you feel like there's something that you have to get out.
If there's something like really something that I'm either really I have a connection with somebody about a subject that I'm really passionate about, or if there's, I don't know, like I'll go to parties and I'll talk to people and it's cool and stuff, but like after like 45 minutes or an hour being anywhere, I'm just like, I need to go home and be by myself. I don't know why.
To recharge.
Kind of, yeah. Like I can't.
At least that's how it works for me.
I have a hard time being out with like friends for like. Some people can go out for like 7 hours or even 5, and after like an hour or two, I'm like, I don't know why. I just get antsy and just like I just have to kind of like I always like kind of want to retreat. Like I love people and I do, but I think my wife and people closest to me would probably classify me as an introvert. I just really, I like creating and I like doing my work, but like at the same time, I feel like, and it's cool if people want to make their choice that that's like their number one thing in their life, and that's what they're going to do more than anything. But I really like consciously made much more of a balance. Like since I've gotten married, especially, I've cut down on a lot of stuff that I've done, and it really. I feel like the work that I've gotten, it really hasn't affected it much, and I feel like it's just for me personally. I just thought that that would be kind of help me as a person to kind of like pull back because my temptation is to work all the time. I like it more than like if somebody's going to like the movies or something, I'd rather stay home and work on my stuff. I know, isn't that twisted? Like I don't know, but I was like, but then I'll be like, you know what? I want to see my friend, and I'm going to go out and like I've just lately especially been trying to do more lunches and so like schedule stuff to see people in the evenings and stuff, and forces me to get out of the apartment and to I don't know, I just think that the connection with people and just giving of yourself and just those just real nice relationships, it's not more about like my work and me. I just think that that is worked for me personally.
Yeah,
as a human being. Yeah.
Speaking of being a human being, so you don't necessarily have like a full on, 40-hour a week day job work schedule like most people that are probably listening to this can relate to. How do you balance kind of the personal versus the professional? How do you, and for that matter, then how do you balance, say, when you're working on the professional, how do you balance your creative time versus your business time?
I just try to schedule out the night before, and it doesn't always happen. It didn't happen today. My day, and you of course have to be flexible with everything, but just like you just like what I do is I write everything out that I need to get done and just prioritize and just schedule the stuff. And I try to like for each project being like, these are the steps that I need to take. Like what are the most important ones and when am I going to do them and stuff, and just yeah, I mean, I feel like if I schedule everything and and I really look at it before I go to sleep, it like gets me out of bed like early, no matter what, because I'm like I have to get this stuff done, and like I tried to like have dinner with my wife. I try to like do a date once a week and schedule time with her and see people, but it's like, and I work Saturdays. I always work Saturdays. So, and I was working Sundays. I basically worked 7 days a week from the time I was 22 until like a year ago. And I'm like, I need to have a day where I just, I call my parents, I call friends, I just kind of take a little bit more time. So it was really, really weird, and it still is not to work Sundays. Like if I have to 100%, like I'll do it. But so that's been odd. But I definitely work Saturdays. Like I'll be working all day Saturday up and through Saturday, late Saturday night. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I just have to like schedule like yesterday during the day I couldn't work because I had something. So it's just like finding those pockets. But I mean, I just it's just being tricky and just really looking at like, this is what I have to get done. These are how many hours I have in the week, and just making it happen. Like I've been sleeping a little bit less. I can still get by. I wish I could sleep more, but if I have to get stuff done, it's just what it is. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Every day is different. Every week is different. And I've been trying like within my work to, I've been trying to just correspond with people that I might not see as much, but at least on email. Like I try to take a chunk of the day, and this is to kind of congratulate people that are doing good work, friends of mine, peers. But if I see somebody that I like their work, I've been trying to take like 15 minutes a day or so just to email people. Some of them are out of the blue, and I'm just like, my name's Mark. I just wanted to let you know this video. I just was really impressed with it, and just sometimes that builds relationships, and that's really not what I'm even looking for. I don't know. I think it's important. It's kind of a community to just kind of like when somebody's doing good work, like, and it just impresses me and it inspires me. I just feel like it's nice to acknowledge it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know you mentioned sleep, and I know when you and I saw each other, which actually the first time we met in person was in New York City. You were just kind of
New Media Expo now.
Yeah,
For
Blog World, which is now New Media Expo.
Yeah.
You were just coming down and still kind of recuperating, not just from doing the keynote interview session the last night there, but also from your Netflix challenge, which so I got to ask, like, how do you shift your, like, workload, personal life balance when you're heading into a project like that? You, like, say, all right, honey, I'm going to be busy for a month, and even though I'll be here, it's going to be crazy. You know, how do you guys do that?
Those projects are awfully hard. Like, I mean, when we did Netflix, we said, okay, we'll like spend an hour in the morning before I start. We'll like hang out for this amount of time at night. And I'm so embarrassed to say this, but it really didn't happen that much. Like, it's just like stuff just happens. Like, I mean, you just got to be flexible. And I feel horrible about it. And like, I've personally recovered from the Netflix thing. It was just a really challenging month, but it was glorious at the same time. But it was just hard. Like, if I had to do it again, I would just really, I don't know, find a way to like make it work. Like when I did Airplane, Christine and I would talk in the morning, and we would try to like talk at designated times. So it just trying to come up with a plan. And like Christine and I are just like, how can we get through this? What's the best way? I usually try to get advice from people that are kind of like, there really isn't anyone that does what I do, but people in the same vein and stuff. And we just try to come up with a plan and just stick with it and just get through it. And we're talking about this new idea, which is really over the top that I can't even mention. And Christine has not agreed to do it, but it would only be 5 days, and Christine would be involved, and it would be really crazy. But it's only 5 days compared to a month, which is why I'm trying to sell her on it. And we'll see if it happens. But like, the month projects are tough on us and tough. Like if I was single, I think it would be much different. But that's just a tough thing when I'm evaluating what I'm going to be doing.
Now I know since we're talking about your wife, when I talked with her at Blog World, we talked a bit, and I didn't have a full picture of how involved she was with all these projects.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you've gotten her more incorporated on the creative / as well as the business side of stuff?
Christine's ideas for my videos, which we haven't done any of them yet just because I have a kind of a backlog, they're so good. Like, I mean, I like anything I have. Like, she's the first person I run by, and she'll be completely honest with me and stuff. And it's like, she just has good instinct. Like, she sometimes will like be involved in like, she helps me a lot with social media. She helps me a lot. She's just like so plugged into that world more than I am, just with stuff that's going on. She's really smart with like she'll film sometimes. Some of the stuff she'll film, she always photographs my stuff. Her photos for my projects have been all over the world. Like when I did a keynote at VidCon in Anaheim, which was terrifying but exciting. It could have gotten any better. It was Christine and myself for like a couple of days, just like really running that thing, because I can't. If I'm going to do a speaking thing, I can't do it half. Like it was just so important that it went well. So we just like, she was kind of like the audience and would just kind of give me edits and suggestions, and it only helped the process. So she was with me for hours and hours running that thing with me. So yeah, it's just like really, really involved. She saved me so many times with my projects when I haven't thought of something too. She's just like, she's good with like just problem solving, like certain details and stuff. So I never really foresaw that when we got married. And like, I feel like a lot of people online like when she shows up in some of the videos, like, it's funny because there's definitely a percentage of people that think she's like a paid actress because she's like, she's way taller than me. She's 6'1", I'm 5'7", and she's like beautiful. And
yeah. Especially when you're doing like we're trying to have a nice date here in the Apple store. And
the date in the Apple store, people are like, is she real? Because I think people are like, I don't know, just our size difference, and like, can Malkoff really get somebody like that? I don't know. But yeah, so it's fun. Like the Apple Store thing was fun. We went on our date and we had a romantic dinner served to us. We had a trumpet player play romantic music while we danced. Yeah, so she like shows up in these things. I think she had a cameo in Netflix. It was kind of bigger, but I think it might have gotten cut down. But
I know she was pouring the coffee on you at one point.
She was. There was another thing that got cut, which was that always happens in the video sometimes. I mean, we always like just film a bunch and we have to get this stuff short, so it's tough. But like, yeah, she showed. Like, I think when I lived in the bathroom, I'm sure she was in part of that.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's another thing I put her through when I cut off my internet and all these things I have to say are real. Like I had this internet addiction, which was we'd be on dates and I'd be checking my phone under the table and it was just bad. She'd bust me. So I was like, no internet. Like where can I put myself for like a week where I would have no temptation? I'm like, lock myself in the bathroom. That's the only place I could think of in New York City. So I locked myself in there. And yeah, that was tough on us. But in the video.
Do you feel how has it been since you've done that? Did you I mean, because I know that we've talked and she and I have talked and we were talking about the whole, because that's one of the things that I'm fascinated by is just people having these devices on their person at all times and just the nervous twitch of even if you've got alerts turned off, just whipping the phone out and checking for stuff. And how's that been since you did that?
It's still a challenge. Sometimes I mess up. I think I'm like way more aware of it. And like the best thing that came out of it, I think, is for my productivity is that I'm embarrassed to say this, but there were definitely like news websites. I'm like the biggest news junkie. Like, and I forced myself not to go to a lot of news sites. Like I've cut myself off from like 4 news sites that I do not go to anymore. And I would go repeatedly throughout the day to them. Like it would just be once a day. So I cut myself off. Like I just made the conscious decision, like I'm done with these sites. And like once in a while, I'll be on a news site and I only go to a few that will like link to them. And I'll occasionally check out 1 or 2 things if it's something I'm really curious about. But that's helped me a lot. Like a big part of my internet addiction was the news stuff. And like, why do I have to check if somebody's emailed me every 5 minutes? It's really odd. So I've gotten better in that aspect. But before, I was just like all the time. So I'm just more aware of it, but I still like feel like I need to like. I can't imagine doing the Tim Ferriss check your email twice a day. I can't imagine, but it would be a great thing to get there. Yeah. Do you have you read the Tim Ferriss stuff at all? Like, do you know anything about that? That's like the one thing I know.
Yeah, I know about that. I know, it's very much it's also kind of the Merlin Man, or at least used to be him, where he would do what was called Inbox Zero, where you'd check your inbox like. However, I mean, ultimately it comes down to making a system that is based around what's realistic and will work for you. You can't, like, when I was talking to Cliff Ravenscraft, he used to be a hardcore just, oh my gosh, I can't end the workday without getting all my emails responded to and having an inbox that's at 0. Nowadays, though, he's totally cool with it because he knows, hey, it's not going to be the end of the world if I respond to them tomorrow or in a couple days after that even.
My friend Barbara always at the end of the day has 0. And she can get by with like 4 hours of sleep so she can get a lot more done. She always has 0. I'm embarrassed. I keep saying that I'm embarrassed during this interview, but like I'm looking at my inbox right now. Oh my gosh. It's just terrible. Like, I mean, I just, that's like one thing that I have a hard time with is that stinking inbox. I was like one of the last people to get email. I was one of the last people to get a cell phone. I don't know. And then when I get this stuff, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I get just so into it. I have a hard time in certain things just setting I'm an extreme person. If you look at my videos, I'm kind of like that in real life. So I just get really kind of, I don't know, extremes. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that personally, but hey.
Well, you're struggling to make it work like we all are, which is kind of the point. I mean,
yeah.
For the fact that you have accomplished some of the things that you've accomplished, it makes you a real person that you struggle with the everyday, day-to-day management of these things. I mean, that's just normal. And it's good for people to hear that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, everyone's different.
It's good for me to hear that. I'll say that.
Definitely people that are public figures that I'm just like, how? Like Jimmy Kimmel was just doing an interview, or I read one where he gets 400 emails a day, and I'm like, how do you? And I know there's other people that probably get more. How do you handle that? Like, I know Howard Schultz over at Starbucks gets up ridiculously early and then exercises. He's like the first in the office. Like, I was just listening to the Jay Moore podcast with Jay Leno, and Leno's the biggest workaholic of all. Like, I mean, he does the Tonight Show, and then does like 150 stand-up dates a year. And he is at the Tonight Show at 7:30 a.m. before any of his employees, and he's up until like 3 a.m. writing the monologue, and it's just like, oh my goodness. Whenever I think that I have a good work ethic and I work hard, just like I don't know. There's a reason Leno is the host of The Tonight Show, because he outworked everyone. I mean, it's simply put. I mean, and there's something to be said about that. Leno was saying, he's like, I never think I'm the smartest or think that I'm the most talented necessarily, but it's just like, I'll outwork you. And he did it, and that's why he's there and stuff. So, yeah, that is completely my temptation to do that. But I really feel like I want a life outside of it, and that's just a conscious decision, but I fight against it a lot.
Yeah. Hey, you talked a little bit earlier about how you start your day, which is great, because I have been asking everybody that I've been interviewing kind of in an ideal world, how would you start your day? But I'd also like to add on to that. Do you have any kind of rituals for you ending your evening?
I try to do what I'm going to do the next day. That doesn't always happen. And that's really it. I mean, I try to stop work. I try to hang out with Christine maybe like an hour before, maybe a half hour before bed, so we have some time just to kind of talk and just hang out. But before that, I try to do my to-do list. And then I have a bulletin board normally with all my like ideas, like 3x5 cards that I want to like projects and stuff. So sometimes I'll look at those, and then I have like my long term like a few goals, like dream things that I've been working on. I kind of like stare at those a little bit and just kind of like really just kind of like let that sink into my head where I want to go and how I can make stuff happen and stuff. Like just always kind of like thinking like that. So I try to do stuff like that before I go to bed. And then I have horrible sleep problems, so I'll try to make the everything kind of like a little dark an hour before I go to sleep or so. And then I drink like valerian root tea and just try to like just kind of like calm my mind. I can't turn it off. Like, that's why I can't sleep. I haven't been able to turn off my mind in like forever. So it's yeah, I just try to like calm my mind, but it's a struggle. So that's my routine normally.
Yeah. I've got a lot of the same problem. Do you ever, I'm assuming you probably do, where if you can't sleep and you're laying there and you've got maybe a pad next to the bed or something so you can write something down? Do that?
I used to do that, but it's too tempting, so I don't feel that
keep working
for me. Yeah, so I don't. Oh, this was horrible. Like once in a while, and I haven't done this for the longest time, because I would have since I drank the tea a lot of times, almost every night, I would have to use the restroom in the middle of the night, because I wake up like anywhere from like 4, 5 to 7 times a night. So when I would wake up to use the restroom, I would just bring my phone and check my emails, and then like as I was going, because I was so addicted to my phone. And I'm like, Mark, don't do that, because that would get my mind going and stuff. And I'm just like, resist.
One of the other interviews that I did was with Michael Hyatt. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him at all. He's been doing a thing where, and it started because his wife told him to while they were on vacation, where he would take 15 minutes in the morning, that is, and he would do complete silence, like not even like prayer or meditation or anything, but just like absolutely just practice not having thoughts happen, you know?
I know Russell Simmons does the yoga and he does like the transcendental meditation, but he talks a lot about just even if you don't do that, the silence. And like Norman Vincent Peale in his book, he talks a lot about that silence too. And one of my good friends, Jason, who's in entertainment, does the same thing, and they all say it really changed them. And I think there is something to it. Like I feel like everyone has to try. different things, see what works for them, and just kind of like, yeah, what I think that's great. I kind of like want to try that. The silence, especially living in New York City, it's definitely be hard, but I tell Christine sometimes I'm like so tempted to like, let's move to a farm. Like I just kind of like, but then I get out of New York and then it's fine to come back. But I just kind of have to like get out every so often, you know?
I know that when I was there for Blog World, at first I was like, whoa, this is high impact, like sensory overload. When I was leaving at the end of the week though, I was like, okay, I actually want to stay. Like I felt like I didn't want to leave other than for the fact that I had a family to go back to.
That's cool. I love New York. Like I really do. It just can get pricey. Like, and just like, of course it can get pricey and just like, there's things I love about it, like any place, and other things that I'm like, I wish this could be a little different. Like back in the day, like in the 50s and stuff, you could like Broadway was actually affordable and like a regular person could go, and just like the price is a little bit, but then like there's other things that are just amazing. I don't know. I love it, but I don't know if I can imagine myself being anywhere else. But there's certainly days that I'm like, I just want to go live on a farm and be a J.D. Salinger recluse, which I can never be and I won't, but it's tempting. And I think that would probably, after about maybe a day, I'm like, this is boring, and then I'd move back anyway. Yeah.
Well, to me, it sounds like you have a very seasonal or cyclical lifestyle. I mean, you have to, do one thing for a while and then go back to regular, or go to regular for a while and then ramp up into abnormal, creative mode.
Yeah, it's definitely like that. It's like
I could see you doing a farm video, but that wouldn't be your life. But it would be funny.
I actually did one, and here's the problem. I filmed a lot of stuff before I don't even want to say I'm good at it, like, but I was so green and so like I didn't really have a voice when I first started. So there's a bunch of stuff. There's some stuff I shot with some really famous people that I've never put online just because I don't like my performance, because I was just kind of like starting out, and like anybody that's any good, like from day one until like even like a year later, you're going to notice a difference. And it's just, I think that anybody who's a content creator, anyone, you only want to put up stuff that you're proud of. There's some people that will put up anything. That's just not my thing. Like I can't do that. So, but yeah.
What of the stuff that's actually gone public have you felt like after the fact, even though people maybe have liked it, you've not been proud of it as much as other stuff? Like the reason I ask is because for maybe going through the trial by fire of maybe failing publicly so that it gets you past that so you can do your real good work. You know what I mean?
I think like me getting carried out of across New York City, I think I would, if I did it now, I'd be so much funnier than I was at the time. I mean, I couldn't feel my hands or toes. I mean, it was 11 degrees, but I just feel like as a performer, I'm a lot stronger. Like there's no way that I could have done Celebrity Sleepover like 3 or 4 years ago and have it been as good as it was. I'm really proud of it. Like the narrative is like fun, but I think the individual ones I'm just really proud of. So if I look at the early stuff, like I even think like 171 Starbucks, which is like 10 minutes. I can't imagine. Like now if I was cutting that, it would be 4 minutes. I feel in my performance, and you know what, it really wasn't a performance because it was real. I mean, it was a real day, but I feel like it would have been a lot better. I think it would have been a lot more entertaining, even though I get emails and people talk about it all the time. Like, I mean, it's like several times a week, at least, people bring it up and they like it. And I don't want to dismiss it because people seem to like it, but I just feel like I'd be a lot better.
Well, anyway, thanks, Mark, for coming on the show. I know we will probably have you come back sometime when you're pushing your next great thing. I want to say that I think, like most people, you'll probably agree, we haven't even seen your best work yet. You're still moving forward.
You're so kind, Eric. I'd love to come back. I really admire the show that you're doing, and it was so much fun talking to you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you again to Mark Malkoff for coming on the show. Look for an upcoming episode featuring his wife and how she balances the everyday, day-to-day things that they do. And again, if you like this show, we would love it and appreciate it deeply if you wouldn't mind going to iTunes and giving us some favorable reviews. 5 stars are preferred. And as well as just tweeting out, hey, I love this show, beyondthetodolist.com, or even Facebook it. Do whatever. But just share it, do it right now. You heard me. Go.